All right, we are live and in session. Okay, today we're going to be talking about strategy, communication strategy, and just a quick disclaimer you can read before we get started. All right, so again, this is a business class. I do offer life lessons within much of the modules, but this is primarily for business purposes. This may work other ways, other places, but it's primarily for business communications. All right, so hopefully you've read Chapter 3, Plan, Purpose, Audience, Strategy, Structure. I won't go into too much detail because you've read the chapter. Okay, so just again, the purpose is threefold, and these are not in the chapter, but I think they're important. Number one is to either inform somebody, persuade somebody, or to build a relationship of trust. Those are the three. These are the three purposes of communicating. Okay, and the third one's an interesting one we talked about just briefly last time. But in Germany, we were when I was a missionary there, we called it baking bread, as building relationships of trust. B-R-O-T, build a relationship of trust, Brot, and that's the German bread right there, which is 10 million times better than the bread here, but some bakeries will eventually catch up. Okay, and audience, who's our audience? Make sure that your message matches the audience. Okay, they're always going to be asking themselves this question, what's in it for me? So before you communicate, ask yourself, as an audience member, if you were in the audience, what's in it for me? And are you communicating that correctly? Okay, and then your strategy. This game called StarCraft, I'm not a huge gamer, but I like this game occasionally, okay? So leave me alone if you're judging me right now. But it's called a real-time strategy. And a strategy, real-time means that your strategy may change based on the circumstances. So for example, maybe you're not able to get a hold of somebody at work. So you have to send them an email, but you wanted to do it, face-to-face or in a call or something else. And your strategy on how you're going to communicate changes, okay? And that strategy in persuading somebody has to do with this threefold structure of pathos, ethos, and logos. And when we get into persuasion, we'll be talking much more about the proper use of each one of these different persuasion methods. Okay, and then lastly, structure, that your email structured well. And so today we have two presentations. We have this PowerPoint presentation and an activity that you can quickly do. And then I'll read some actual emails that were sent to me, and all of which are, I think, good examples of bad communications and of how to respond to them. Okay? All right, so what I want you to do is imagine you are this person. And this could be a male or female manager. I'm not, the picture was just one off, Google Images or whatever. Anyway, so that you're a project manager of a 100-employee firm. You're trusted, hardworking. You can read that, right? Okay, so those are the criteria of which you will be working with. Then I'm going to give you some scenarios, and I want you to write down your how would you communicate within this specific scenario. Okay, and then it's usually done in a group discussion setting. However, obviously in this we don't have that opportunity, but I want you to pick these scenarios and then kind of take about 10 minutes to figure out how you would communicate. Okay, and then from the chapter, if you do know what time of day you should choose for your communications, that would be great. Bonus points. Okay, so here are the scenarios. Go ahead and pause the video and go through the scenarios. Again, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the scenario and figure out how you want to deliver your communication. It can be through text message, call, face-to-face, video. It can be through any medium you choose, and then you can pick also a persuasion tactic based on ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay? All right, we're back. So, for the first one, asking your boss for a raise. Some of you might have said, oh, I want to do that face-to-face. Some of you didn't want to do it face-to-face. You want to send an email. Okay, she can talk forever. So this is what I would do if I were in this scenario. Okay, if I were in this scenario and you know she can talk, I would do two things. Send an email saying, I'd like to talk to you about a raise, and then have a lot, and I'd use a lot of logos saying, here's where I'm at, this is where I should be, here's different people in the, or different, here's the glass door and the information based on it, and right now I'm being paid, X below this or at this, but I'm exceeding. And then I'd say, I'd like to come and talk to you this day and this time, and I would schedule this day and that time, speak with the secretary for about half an hour before she has either a meeting or half an hour before lunch or something like that, so she can't go over. Make sure she has a hard stop. Okay, that's what I do for scenario 1. 2, this guy doesn't like to talk much, but likes records. So I would have a nicely built record, either folder or email or something like that, where we'd give them top performance review and then walk by and say, good job, Salamander. Maybe that's his name. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's his nickname. But that's what I would do in that scenario for scenario 2. 3, okay, this is an interesting one. And obviously 2 would not be ethos, would not be pathos. It would just be, logos, and then maybe since you're the boss, you automatically have a lot of ethos. Okay, scenario 3. So this is a kind of a difficult one. People think, oh, okay, just cancel it and send an email or call them all and say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So the problem with just calling is that you'll need a record of this, because let's say your boss comes over and says, why aren't you at the meeting? Well, I told them. And you get some jerk in the other department that says, I didn't hear anything. So I would send out an email and then make sure that they have a read certificate or something else that they've read the email, that you've canceled it. And again, just say, due to low attendance, are there reasons we should have this? And if so, what's a different medium that we can use to have this meeting, or if it's necessary? Okay, that's what I would do in scenario 3. Scenario 4. Okay, a lot of people say, yeah, let's have a big meeting and just tell them all about it. The problem with that is they'll forget. So in this one, I would create an instructional video, and then I would run this instructional video through different people in my department, other departments, to make sure that it makes sense. Okay, and then obviously an instructional video, I would also use ethos, pathos, and logos, all 3, because some of these videos can be very boring and terrible, but they need to have a little, joke or a good YouTube video or something else that brings the content much more to surface, that they actually do read it and watch it. Okay, number 5. Oh, this one's so bad, right? A lot of people think, oh, just go straight pathos and make them feel good and those types of things. We'll get into difficult conversations a little bit later in the course. However, in this one, you probably want to stick to logos initially and probably do it face-to-face. I know you don't like to just send an email or a text or whatever. However, you probably should do this face-to-face and stick to 90% logos. Okay, saying these are the specific reasons. We told you to do X, you did Y. We told you to do Y, you did X. And we've warned, this is your 3rd warning. We're going to have to let you go. And then paint what we call, then we give them an honest silver lining. Say, I know this isn't working out for, this isn't good news for you. However, I've contacted people who do fit your skill set. I'd be more than happy to share these contacts with you, or whatever scenario you can give the person that does show that you care, but you're not going to obviously recommend them, for a job where they're not going to succeed. But you want to make sure and use a lot of ethos, logos, and then with a little bit of pathos, showing that you do care and you're trying to help them out. Okay? And 6, there's a couple different things. Number 1's like, hey, where are you? Send a text. That might work. But what if you can't reach? What if they said, hey, I'm not going to make it? I think better is something like a text message, or I don't know, you guys do FaceTime or something else, some other specific medium that you use in the office, and say, hey, are you going to make it? And if not, what do I need to be prepared to say on your behalf? So that you're building some ethos there with that person and some pathos, saying, I know it would be rough or whatever, to get here, or I'm sorry you aren't going to make it on time. However, in this case, you want to make sure and offer your help. Okay, so let's go through a couple of these examples. What you think is this, they used to do, you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. They switched mission calls from a physical letter to an email. And I wonder if that's good or bad. Maybe for the upcoming generation, it's good. I liked the physical nature of my mission call. Okay. So, an instructional video on investigating new markets, for example. If you are a manager showing this to someone who's coming on, that would be great, because now you wouldn't have to have an orientation every single time someone needed to investigate a new market. So that would be thumbs up. Text message fights. Come on, guys. Really? Last semester, I figured I'd try this out. And this was a bad idea, but it was really funny. So I knew my wife was going to be mad at me. I did something wrong, which I'm doing my best not to do. And I guess that's what this is all about, is learning. So I sent her a text message back that wasn't, it was fine, but it wasn't like, something I probably should have said face to face. No, I was kind of rude, And it was so funny. To me, I'm like, I'm going to do this because I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it to see how these kids, if it's something that really works. And it obviously didn't work, and I don't remember the outcome, but we still love each other. But it would have been a lot better day had I not done text message fights or TikTok fights or whatever fights you guys are doing. Make sure that you, again, with your purpose, audience, strategy, and structure, that if you're going to have a disagreement, that you do it using the correct communication mediums. Okay, Facebook, Twitter, Flames, or Pinterest, or whatever else medium. There's so many these days, I'm not sure which one's which. Again, the problem, those are great, right? You just get all of your emotion out, and everybody gets to see it, and you're the boss, you're bossing the situation. The problem with that is those are permanent, even if they delete them, right? And you may feel different later. So that may not be the best thing to do. Okay, face-to-face about a race. That's usually a good thing. I would definitely recommend that, and that is a strategy that usually will work unless your boss is an introvert that doesn't like to speak or see anybody and is half vampire. That probably might not work. Okay. All right. So to wrap up, key points and tasks. Pass, purpose, audience, strategy, structure. You'll be seeing this the rest of the course. Okay. It can be the difference between building and burning bridges, and you definitely want to build bridges with people, not burn them. And the second one is something that I think is important. Find a strategy that suits your skill set. If you're not great face-to-face, okay, and you're incredible in writing, then see whether you can make your face-to-face interactions more like your writing. What I mean by that is write it all down. Okay, if you get nervous in those face-to-face scenarios, send out an email in advance, and then say, "This is what I want to talk about." I was a good example of this. I was a clerk as a student in a ward, and we were in a bishop. What's it called? I don't know. It's where you say what you've done wrong, but you have a council because it was pretty much It wasn't a good thing. Anyway, so what was interesting is this person came in and had written down her whole confession and read it, and it was actually a very touching experience to be in that room. Somebody who was sincerely sorry, but knew that she couldn't communicate that in a way that would be effective if she had to do it without writing it down. And so it's actually a really effective way of doing it. Okay, so you're going to make mistakes regardless, but find strategies that you're better at. Test them out, again, especially in this classroom setting or in other classroom settings, because it doesn't really matter right now if you don't know exactly how to write, you don't know how to present or whatever, because we're going to give you feedback. When you get out to the real world and you haven't had that feedback, that's where it could hurt you. Okay? All right, so this is the first part of the lecture. There are 2 parts, remember. The second one is I'm going to go through some emails with you, have you read through the email. I'll scroll through it so that you have time to read it. And we'll go through some actual communications and see how I handled those. Okay? All right, we will see you in the next session.